continue to flow. So that was a massive base. Ella, Ma'aber is Nachli Alman, you know, and what's that case? Tichsiv, Al Yomar B'Sefer Mochamis Hashem. This is a cryptic pasuk in Chumash. Let me just see what it is. It's in Midbar. It says, Al Yomar B'Sefer Mochamis Hashem, Es Vahev B'Sufa V'Esen Chalam Arnain. I know we darshan there's Vahev B'Sufa, there's love at the end. When you have a Mochama Hashem, when you have a Mochama Hashem Shemayim, no matter how heated it is, it always brings the people who argue in Torah with the Machlokes Shem Shemayim together. There's love at the end. But that's not what our Gemara is doing with it. The Gemara is telling us the following. Tana we learned the Brisa. Es and Vahav, or was it Vahav and Sufa? What? Es and Hav. Es and Hav were two people in Sufa. What does that mean by Sufa? There were Shnei Mitzrayim Hoyu. There were two Mitzrayim. They were famous Mitzrayim. Not as famous as the four Mitzrayim. These were the two Mitzrayim. The Hava Mahalchin B'Soif Machan Yisrael. Being that they had to be Michutz LaMachana, they were straddling behind the Machan Yisrael when they were traveling through the Midbar. K'avacholfa Yisrael, when the Yisraelim were passing through certain mountains, Osu Amiroi, a group of Amiroim came, and they said, now we have an opportunity to ambush Klal Yisrael and commit a terrorist attack against them that no one will know. Avad Lahun Nikirusa, they made caves, or they found caves in the sides of the mountain. Klal Yisrael were going to be walking through a deep valley, and the mountains on either side were a canyon, that's right. And there were caves on either side, or they made caves on either side to hide in. V'tashubain, and they're going to hide in there. Amri, they said, Ki Chalfi Yisrael Hacha, when Klal Yisrael comes by, we're up on the walls of the canyon, they're down at the bottom. It's going to literally be like shooting fish in a barrel. Naktalinon, we'll kill them. But they had one big mistake, these Amaroi made. For the Haviyadi, they didn't know that Klal Yisrael had the best paving company. For the Haviyadi, the Oren Havamaski Kamayu the Yisrael, Vamamamachlu to Mikamayu. They didn't realize that they had a tremendous bulldozer. They had the Oren, and with the Oren, with the Oren, it says the Oren, I thought it was done, but the Oren used to go in front of them and would flatten mountains and level valleys and make it that their walk should be on smooth territory. It should be an easy walk. So they were in these canyons that were about to be bulldozed, but they didn't know that.
Klal Yisrael was, the way they marched, the Oren was in the middle of Klal Yisrael. So they were shvatim ahead of them.
Could be the Oren only went ahead when they had work to do. I'm sorry?
This is according to the Shittim that there were two Orens.
So there was still one Oren in the center, and there was another one that went in front. Oh, very good. So there's only one in front of them. Even the Asa Oren, when the Oren came, Adbaku Turi B'Hada Adadi, it caused the two mountains to come together, I guess to close up the canyon, and anybody who was in those holes had a very, were literally between a rock and a hard place. Right? The Ketlinim, they all got killed. But what happened was they got crushed. The Nochas Demayu Lenachal. So their blood of all of these crushed people ran down into Nachal Arnon. So Klal Yisrael walked through totally oblivious. At the end, when Es and Vav walk by, they see a whole river of blood, and the Chazudama, the Kanavik Mibeni Ture, they saw blood coming out from between the mountains. Also, V'amru Yisrael, they reported this to Klal Yisrael that we just had a Meir de Kanes. V'amru Shira. It's only just the second time we have that a Hatzalah of Klal Yisrael came through Mitzrayim. Or at least we noticed through Mitzrayim.
They were in the back. If the Oren was in the front, and it crushed the people as its way.
It could be it took time for it to ooze out. Could be it took a little time for the blood to ooze out. So by the time they got to the end, the blood was oozing out already. That's what I was thinking as well. And the same thing by the Arba Mitzrayim, they also found food in Machane Aram. So it's the second time that Mitzrayim ended up being involved in the Hatzalah of Klal Yisrael.
Maybe they were the cause of the ambush, right? Like the Gemara said in the beginning. So that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu ensured that they would be the cause of the shiur.
Why were the Mitzrayim cause of the ambush?
That the Amoraim said that we're going to get these guys and nobody will even know about it because they're chutz l'machna.
No, they were after all of Klal Yisrael. They weren't just after the two Mitzrayim.
Oh,
They wouldn't invest so much money in such a whole project for two Mitzrayim. No, they were planning to get all of Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael would be in this canyon. They'd be above, and it would be.
why were the Mitzrayim mentioned in the beginning? Just because
It tells them they discovered. Yeah, they were the ones who discovered and reported the nace.
in the beginning they were mentioned in the beginning only because of the end.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, the Gemara starts off with their names in the pasuk, then the Gemara elaborates on what the meaning of it is. Hani dechsev ve'eshet hanacholim asher nota l'sheves or v'nishan l'gvul moyav. And Rashi attaches the psukim beautifully. So I'm going to look in Rashi. It's the second skinny line. Ve'eshet v'shafach. So the spilling of the rivers. Ve'eshet spilling of the rivers. Asher nota l'sheves or. So Rashi says asher nota l'sheves or hor shebe'ever emek. The mountain on the other side of the canyon, not leaned over, and it moved towards the mountain on the other side of the canyon, Vishom Eretz Moav Ar. So that's one mountain came close to the other mountain and crushed everybody in between. So that's the story of Mavris Nachal. Now we're going to get into the next interesting story. Avnei al-Gavish. What are the Avnei al-Gavish that we're talking about, this great nace? My Avnei al-Gavish. Tana avonim sha'amdu al-Gav ish. Stones that stood in its place on behalf because of a person. Someone who was referred to with the title ish. V'yodu al-Gavish. And then eventually they were released from their standstill in mid-air. Again, on the schus of someone who was labeled with the term ish. Amdu agavish ze Moshe. The first ish who caused stones to stop in midair was Moshe Rabbeinu. T'chsiva ish Moshe onav moed. So that's where we see Moshe was referred to with the name ish. Uchsiv vayachtelu hakoros v'abard u'motor nitachalzo. When Moshe davened that the bird should stop, it literally stopped in midair. So all of the bird that were in the middle of falling froze for many, many years. And those same stones, Yordu al-Gav Ish, Ze Yeshua, D'chsev Kach L'chos, Yeshua in Parashas Pinchas, Ish Asher Ruach Boi. Yeshua also had the title Ish. Uchsev, when did Hashem drop those rocks that were suspended on behalf of Yeshua? He says, Vayi b'neisim b'pnei b'nei Yisrael, when they were running away from b'nei Yisrael, Hein b'moed beis Chayron, they were in Moed beis Chayron, so that's the place that we're talking about. Hashem hishlich aleim avonim gedoros min hashamayim. Hashem threw great stones on them from the sky. And what was that? Those were the stones that were suspended there from Moshe Rabbeinu's times. Even Shebikash Oig Melech HaBashan Lizuk Al Yisrael. This is a very interesting story of the stone that Oig Melech HaBashan wanted to put on Klal Yisrael and crush them all. Gemara, we know, I guess Al Pi Kabbalah, we know, passed down. Omar Machane Yisrael Kamahava. Oig Melech HaBashan took out his geometry books and he calculated what is the square footage area that Klal Yisrael covers. Havatlosa Parsi. It's 3 parsois, I think it's 3 by 3, which is a total of 9 parsois. Rashi elaborates on that. Ezel, so I have a great idea. Ezel v'akar tur bas tlosa parsi. I'm a strong guy. I'll uproot a mountain that is that same size. V'ishtialayu v'iktalinu. I can wipe them all out in one fell swoop. Just drop this mountain on the entire machna, and poof, they're gone. Ozal akar tur. He went and he lifted up this mountain by Tlosa Parsi. So it seems like his arms weren't strong enough alone to hold it. He had to sort of support it with his head, and he's like balancing this heavy load on his head. You see pictures of people doing that. What did Hashem do? The Rosh tapped into his army of ants, maybe those ants that were marching in the parade in Belgium. He took those ants, v'nakvua, and created a hollow in the bottom of the mountain that is head supporting. So now that rock on his head is starting to lower down, and it's starting to become a helmet, like a welding helmet, where you can't see anything. What?
A donut.
Well, I'm not going to donut because I'm not going to hole through. They created a cavity in it, so now it acted like a helmet. The Nachas Pitzavari, and it came all the way down until the point that it was already resting on his shoulders, and there was a cavity in it for his head. So he's very well protected. But the problem is he couldn't see much, so he had to take it off. Have a boy Mcgillvray. He wanted to take it off his head. Hashem made Hashem bucked the trend. He made Oig develop a severe case of buck teeth. His teeth stuck out, so they locked into the side of the helmet for the Mcgillvray, and he couldn't get the helmet off. So now he's stuck with a helmet on his head. Now I understand in the front his teeth grew forward to lock in. Somehow teeth must have grown out of the back of his head as well. His teeth must have grown in 4 directions to grab that mountain, and he couldn't get it off. He needed a dentist quickly. And most dentists are Jewish, so he was out of luck. He was completely out of luck. So that's that nice. You broke them, you made them grow and spread, and that's what locked the helmet on his head. Moshe. Yeah, it was a very big stone. That's right. It was a very big stone.
I don't even know where that happened. We're talking about a makom, right?
So how would we know? So it's our Kabbalah. I'm not sure where it was. That's a good point. How would we know exactly where it is?
Maybe the stone or the mountain was so recognizable afterwards that if you saw that type of stone with a funny thing.
Yeah, it could be if you see a big mountain that has its top cut off and it's flat, maybe that's the place to do it. Or it could be whenever we get stoned, like Purim time, that's when you're supposed to make a bracha on the stone. I don't know.
Don't understand it literally.
So talk to more about it. Who said don't understand it literally? The Rashba says, okay.
Sorry.
Moshe, okay, so now let's start on so what happened over here? He's standing, you have Oig Melech HaMoshe standing, and he's sort of locked in place because he can't see anything and he doesn't know what to do. So he's standing there, and now he's a sitting duck. Once he became a sitting duck, let's see how we took him down. Moshe Kamahava. How tall was Moshe? 10 amas. He was 10 amas, and Rashi tells us is because we have psukim that says he was the size of the Karoshim in the Mishkan, which were 10 amas. So Moshe was about 25, 30 feet high. Shokal Naga Bar Eser Amin. He took a stick that was 10 amas, so now the combined height is just over 20 amas. And Shover Eser Amin. He jumped. Whoever said white men can't jump? He jumped 10 amas. Umachir b'karsule, and he whacked. Oig, I think karsule means knee. I don't know how the article touches. Ankle? Okay. Because he says, per karisha l'mayla min ha'ekev. Right. It's so in his shin or in his ankle. V'katli, and that took him down. That took him down. Zok to Gemara, I'm not sure, so he hit him in his ankle. How did that kill? I don't know how that kills. But it could be, what?
It's the Achilles heel.
I'm not sure how that...
He hits him and then he falls down, and then he kills him.
That's what happens? Oh. And also he had a big stone on his head. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. Ve'even sheyoshav alei Moshe. What about the stone that Moshe sat on? Dichsiv v'idei Moshe kvedim. Moshe's hands were getting tired. Ve'ichrav moisim utafto v'yoshav aleha. So I don't understand. The nes has nothing to do with the stone. So I think one of the Mefarshim I know it says, yeah, it just means that's symbolizing the nes of the Atzara in the Muhammad. And another thing is the Mishnah tells us that it actually wasn't the nes. The Mishnah is v'chiyad of shemoisa oisus Muhammad oishovis Muhammad and a lemelach kozman show you Yisrael mishabdim mistaklon klapay ma'ila hoyu mishabdim libam lavim shabbat shemayim, right? Right? I think the Lashon is Gabrim. So it could be that's also nice. The fact that Aidei, Klal Yisrael being minded in their Bnei Yisrael, and Hashem being mechazik them, that was part of the nice. That's what we're remembering. What about Lot's wife?
Moshe Rabbeinu went up on a mountain. He was in the middle of nowhere, right? When he was doing this, right? Moshe Rabbeinu went up on a mountain to daven. Hur and Aaron
came and joined him.
Right, came and joined him. Moshe Rabbeinu was so tall that they couldn't support his arms.
So he had to sit on the stone. He had to sit down, right?
So they had to find some kind of a stone in order for him to sit down.
Right.
The finding of the stone that they were able to move and put in place for him to sit down. That was the nes.
Who says that?
my own head.
Oh, no, 'cause the Mefarshim speak out. I saw somewhere that the stone is just to tell us about the place. Let me see if Rashi says it. I was looking at a lot of different places.
Was it a stone that each one carried, or they had to carry it in unison? Like
Okay, talk to more right here. We have a lot of work to do. Now, what about Israel Shaloit? You know that Tabet Ishto Me'acharov, Lot's wife looked back, V'tehin Tziv Melach. V'choyme Sherichai, Shenivla. What about the Choyme Sherichai that was Nivla? Tichsev V'tipur HaChoyme Tachta. The wall fell down. All of these listed are nisim. They're good things. That's a paranius. So you're right. That bracha is not a nice. That's a bracha that Amar Baruch Taina Emes. The Mishnah says you have to say Haido on that. So tomorrow aloit val ishtoi mevarchim shtaim. What the Brachos Mishnah say is Tony aloit there's two brachas. Aloit ishtoi Amar Baruch Taina Emes. But aloit Amar Baruch Zocher Satzadikim. By loit, when you see that place where the salt is, two things happened at that point. Sure, Lot's wife got punished, but Lot got saved, and therefore we make the bracha Zocher Satzadikim, and I believe that means because Lot was saved in the schus of Avraham Avinu.
Well, so I made a bracha that
Shezocher Avraham, actually, Shezocher Avraham. Yeah. He probably needed a lot. He probably needed multiple schusim to bail him out.
he made the bracha that he hadn't lost his hearing. You know what I'm talking about.
So the Lot's wife was just a symbol.
Guy gets pulled over. So the officer says to him, "Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?" He says, "No, I don't know why you pulled me over." So your wife fell out of the car 2 blocks ago. He says, "Oh, thank God, I thought I was going deaf."
I think right
His
now,
wife said the same thing. All of a sudden, so quiet. Oh.
Very good.
So the Lot's wife was only a symbol of everything else that was going on around.
What do you mean?
Meaning it was only the nace that Lot was saved and that Rus was all the other nisim, but not the fact that she was actually turned.
That's right. That's just a place. That just indicates the place. X marks the spot. Amar B'echna Filu B'Shas Kazi Shul HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yivun Hashem is angry. Zocher is a tzaddikim. He remembers the tzaddikim, like you see by Lo Shnema V'Hi B'Shachas Elakim Es Ari Akikar V'Yizker Elakim Es Avram V'Yishlach Es Loit Mitoich HaFeicha. V'Chayim Yishvich Shnevla. Fragt the Gemara. V'Chayim Yishvich Shnevla. Who said they sank into the ground? Mehechadesi. V'Nafla. The Torah says they fell down. The Navi says Shnei Avika Shmoya Am Es Kol HaShofer V'Yiriu Am Trua Gedola V'Tipol HaChoyim Matachta. So the Gemara. Of course it fell, but keeping the pusa of a room like Yavadininu, this wall was as thick as it was high, so it can't topple because it's a square. Since it couldn't topple, the vatipo, what the Torah must mean is it got sunk into the ground. 4 people have to give shvach to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Somebody who traveled on the oceans, someone who traveled in midbaris, someone who was sick, and someone who was in jail. And the list of these 4, these are in the Haidu that we say before Shabbos, but our Gemara listed not like the order in the Psukim, and Tosfos speaks out. When the Hagul, Tosfos says, V'Tehillim, second Tosfos, V'Tehillim Choshev K'zeh Seder. It doesn't list it in this order. Ela Choshev first, Halchi Hamidbar. It's Halchi Hamidbar is first. The Quran Nakat Seder HaMezukanim Yoshet Chila. The Seder in the Pasuk is, it lists off the most perilous situations first. So listed in order of how great the peril is. But the Gemara or the Brachos lists it the Gemara says it in order of how common they are. So I guess the Agudah was most common, Chacham was less common, Chayil was even less common, and Chovish was even less common, which is a good sign.
Or you could have taken one of those cruise ships.
That's right.
And get 3 before.
Zot the hele Gemara weiter. Yoda Yemenolo. So now it's quoting a whole bunch of psukim in that Hoidu. Yoda Yemenolo is Oisim Malach b'Mayim Rabim. They're in the ocean. Himaro Mas Hashem and the Flows of Mitzula. They saw the Maisim of Hashem. Vayomer they said Vayamid Ruach Sarah v'Terem Galov. There was a big wind and it got stormy and the wind and the waves picked up. Yahu Shemaim Yoda Tahamayis. Everything was up. The Shemaim was up. The Tahamayis were down. They're literally being thrown up and down. Nafshim B'Yot Smoigog. I know what that feels like. Me and Moti knows what that feels like, right? Yechoigu v'yanu kashikir. They're shaking in the waves. And what do they do? I remember when I was with Moti, we were in 10-foot waves in a small boat, and I was diving to Hashem. It was Erev Shabbos. Hashem, please get us home before Shabbos. Then I compromised. Hashem, please just get us home. Yakim Sha'al Mama Vayachshu Galayim, and then Hashem calmed things down. Vayismachu Ki Yishtoku Vayadchem El Mechor Chevtzon Yodu Hashem Chaslo Ibn V'Loisav V'Le'odam. So that's talking about the Yeshuas that we thank Hashem for saving us from a stormy sea. They were lost in the midbar. Hashem GPS us out of there. Again, fools end up suffering for their affairs and they get sick. Anything they're hungry for, and then and then and after they're healed, next is Misha Yechavish Meves Asurim, and it's very nice to see the order that the least common of all the struggles of Klal Yisrael was going to jail. I'm not sure if there would be the same order nowadays. I don't know. I'm just saying. But to the Gemara times, the Chalapachos, the least common of all the troubles was going to jail. Tichsev Yoshve Choshech V'Talmoves. Ki Himmer, they're sitting in the darkness in jail. Ki Himmer Merkel, because they rebelled against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. V'Omer V'Yachne B'Amalibam, their hearts, because of their hard work, because of their toil, we became low. And then we got out of the darkness. So what is the bracha that you make? And if we look in the Gra, he says, which is the bracha that we make. Abai Omar, you have to do this in front of 10 people. You have to do it in front of a kahal, and a kahal means 10 people. Train me now when 2 of these 10 people, Rabbanim, have to be choshev Rabbanim. Shenemar, it also says, Zakenim Yahalu, and Zakenim are referring to Chachamim. Who said, maybe all 10 of them have to be Rabbanim. So tomorrow, Miksiv, Bekal Zakenim, Bekal Amksiv. So the Am only has to be regular people. The Kahal only has to be regular people. And you only need 2 to be Zakenim. But Ve'ema Be'asara, Shar Hama, Utre Rabbanim. Maybe you need 12 people. Maybe you need to have 10 regulars, and then 2 Rabbanim. So Tosfos tells us, V'avdi l'chumra, we go l'chumra v'afilu leka trei Rabbanim. Even if we don't have trei Rabbanim, we still make that bracha. We normally make the bracha of a goyim l'chayot m'toivos. We're not talking about a hypochondriac when we're talking about a sick person. It has to be somebody who is really sick. If he had an upset stomach or a headache, it's like similar to the yurtzeit. If a guy wants to get an aliyah because his grandmother's cousin's uncle's cat's first owner had that yurtzeit, right? So you only if it's a real bona fide sickness.
I guess the same would be in jail. If you're just in jail for misdemeanor, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's right. A friend of mine told me that he was in Washington Heights, and his father happens to be the Rov there, and he was there. His wife had a baby, and he wanted the Gabbai to make a Mishaberach for his wife because he had a baby. And he said, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't qualify. Not sick enough, that doesn't qualify. Sagt the Gemara weiter. Rabbi Yehuda Chalash. Rabbi Yehuda got sick. V'itbach, and he got better. Oh, the Gabbai Rab Chana Bar Gesah. Rab Chana Bar Gesah came to visit him, so he came a little bit late to the party. After he got better, he came to be Mevaka Chola.
That's why they're bursting because it seems in Washington.
And he came with the Rabbanon. He told him, Brich Rachmana Dihalaf Lahalon. Thank you, Hashem, for giving you, Rabbi Yehuda, back to us. And he didn't give you to the basic verse. He said, you messed me up now, because Patras and Yossi Milo. Now you parted me from making my own Brachos Agoimel, because you were moitzing me with it. Why would Rabbi Yehuda complain? He didn't do it in front of 10 people, and you need 10 people to pater up your chiyuv of Haidah. Zoktamar, no, to have a Be'asar. When Rabbi Chana Bagdasar came, he had an entourage of 10 people. He didn't agree to the bracha. Zoktamar, you don't need to. You know why? The Ani Basrayu Amen. He answered Amen. So by answering Amen, he was yoytze the bracha. That's right. Yeah, you part from the bracha. Shloisha trichin shimur. There are 3 people who need to be careful. They are in chayla, chason, bekala. But mesnisatana, 4 items: chayla, chaya, chason, bekala. So they add to it a woman who just gave birth. V'yesherim af oval. V'yesherim af tamidacham belayla. And Rashi tells us all of these people are vulnerable. Shahur mazloi, achaylos who are mazloi, so it could be dangerous. And anybody who's in a dangerous position is someone who needs to have a special shmira. No, that's because the mikanasai miskara b'hem. So that's somebody else. That's because of the kina. There's an einhara. So so they all are vulnerable for different reasons.
Right. That's Rabbi Loy explained. By Spartan when they yell at the chuppah, it's to ward off the einhara.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Because also you're screaming, you're not concentrating on
the einhara. Really? I thought most of them are looking at the core.
Yeah. Maybe they're.
V'amar Rabbi Yehuda shloisha devarim. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda shloisha devarim hamayich behen. There's 3 things that if you spend too much time, you spend a lot of time, not too much time. I'm sorry. Marich and yom v'shnois v'shlodim. Forget it's a good thing. It's going to cause you to rich yom. Hamayich with philosophy, a long davening. V'hamayich al he has long sudas. And v'hamayich b'beisek isei, someone who takes his phone into the beisek isei. Take the Gemara. V'hamayich b'tfilosai, and this is not in China. This does not apply to China because it's dangerous. We're going to soon see in the Gemara this does not apply to China. Zok the Gemara v'hamayich b'tfilosai. What's wrong with that? Mal usually you're saying that's a good thing. We have this at the beginning of the Masechta that kol hamayich b'tfilosai u'ma'ayim bo. Someone who focuses too much on this tefillah, so because he's hoping so much Hashem is going to do his will, and it might not come out, and it's going to just cause them heartache. Because it says, and Rashi Techeres says, Lashon Tefillah, K'may V'yichal Moshe, if it's a very long one, Machalev, it just causes heartache. There's 3 things that cause the Averis of a person to be remembered. If somebody walks under a leaning wall, meaning he puts himself into a makam sakana, so he right away is in a makam of din, or v'iyam tefillah, which is our subject, or if he has some beef with his friend and he says, you know what, let Hashem deal with him. Hashem's going to say, oh yeah, really, you think you're so worthy that we should deal with your problems because you think you're so great, and it puts you into a matzav of din. And of course,
Well, what else are you supposed to do? Take care of it yourself? I mean, you're not supposed to do that either, right? You're not supposed to.
Oh no! So he brings down that if you can go to Beis Din and you have recourse, then you're not allowed to. But if you have no recourse, then you are allowed to.
Chazal discourage you from taking things to Beis Din.
Yossi Simon said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should take care of him. But if he would have said, let HaKadosh Baruch Hu take care of us,
it would be better.
Then that would be okay.
So don't worry for his punishment, worry about your success.
No. Let's make justice.
Yep.
Oh, yeah?
Anybody goes to court thinks he's winning, right?
So Rabbi Kiva here off of north. Rabbi Kiva here off of north. Let me see if I can find Rabbi Kiva here. Where's my Gillian Ashas? I don't have it. So he spoke out. Rabbi Kiva says, what about a main? What about a marach b'amein? It says it's a good thing to be marach and amein. So Rabbi Shtomach says when you bring marach and amein, that's not how long could you be marach already in amein. That's not a problem. It's like a buah. As long as you're going to stretch out to amein, it's not going to be so long. Okay. So it's not fair. If you're looking to it and you think, oh, I hope Hashem does my job, I hope Hashem does what I have to do, that's going to lead to kevlev. But if he just davens normal, then it's not a problem. So what does he do? The mafresh berachmi, he's causing a lot of, he's like sort of pressuring the Muslim to do what he wants him to do. What about the Amar Chal Shulchanai? What's so good about having long meals? So tomorrow, because if he has a long suit and the ani comes, he'll be able to give him to eat. And so by having long meals, it creates more opportunity for someone to drop in, for him to be machnas orach. Tichsiv, hamizbeach eit shalosh amish kavaya, uchsiv eidaber elai zeh hashulchan asher ufnei Hashem. So you see, we're referring to the shulchan when we're talking about the mizbeach. Pozach b'mizbeach v'sayim b'shulchan. Rabbi Yechon Rabbi Elazar Ami Tavaya calls much beis hamikdash kaya mizbeach mechaper al Yisrael. V'achshav v'nala we don't have a mizbeach shulchan yisrael mechaper alov. By being machnas orach, that's how we're zoicha to Yeshuas. That's a maila. For Tanya, if you want to get hemorrhoids, be malach in the basic hisei. But we'll see other things that cause hemorrhoids. The leaves of kanim, I'm not sure what that is. And the leaves from a wine, little shoots from a vine. If you eat pieces of meat that have protrusions, such as the tongue. And Avram Avinu served the tongue to the malachim. Well, first of all, I don't know if they would have a problem with hemorrhoids, but he peeled the tongue. If you peel it, it's not an issue. And also the Rishonim say that if it's in a dip, like chardal, then also it mitigates that problem. If you have the spine of a fish, salted fish that's not cooked, so a half done herring. If you drink the shmorim of wine, if instead of using cotton oil, you use rock oil, right? I'm not even going to discuss that one. Someone who hangs in the bathroom too long. So see, is a bad thing. It all depends on whether or not he is squatting. Squatting is going to cause hemorrhoids. So in China, where they don't have toilets, they just squat. If someone stays too long, there it can lead to hemorrhoids. This fancy lady told Rabbi Dabailoi, you're a Talmud, but you look like you're a Hollywood star. How did it pass? The Talmud should look like that. With a Malva Beribis. And Rashi says that Megadeh Chazer and Malva Beribis earn easy money, earn a lot of money, and earn it without hard work. So they look kapashit. Amalei and Musa, I can promise you, with the those two fields of income are also to me, and I for sure did not engage in that. So why do I look so good, so kapashit? Because our Esrim Barba basic Hisei Ikamish Bizarre the Bay Midrasha. There's 24 public bathrooms between my house, there's 24 rest areas between my house and the Bismedish. And I stop at every rest area.
So the Vigda said, and he drops in at every rest area.
What does that mean? Oh, drops in. Okay, stop. Okay, I'm sorry.
I can say that.
You need to be Victor Miller. Yeah. There's three things that make a person's years less. Somebody to give him a Sefer Torah to read and he doesn't, which is something like not coming up to an aliyah. So he brings down to the very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh, I forgot another thing he spoke out. He spoke out since the Gemara compares a shulchan to mizbeach. That's the reason why we don't sit on a shulchan. That's the reason why we have salt on the shulchan, and that's the reason why we don't bench with knives on the table. It's all because of those who were the halachas by the mizbeach. So he asks a very, very interesting thing. What happens if they call you up for the teichacha? So the halacha is you must go because the teicha is not a good simon to get called up for, but it's worse to be mekatsu yom of shnoisha shaladam. So even if they call you up for teicha, you have to go. He says that from Chaim Pelagi, and he had two other examples. Let's say a guy brought two aliyahs. He brought shlishi and he brought shishi, and he wanted shishi. and he was going to give shlishi to somebody else, and they call him up for shlishi, he can't say, no, I want shlishi. He has to go up, because again, that's refusing a bracha is a big problem. And then he said there's certain people who have a minig that they consider the sheva brachas a bracha smucha lechaverta, and that you're not allowed to be mafsuk, so one person has to say all 7 of the sheva brachas. So let's say you have such a minig, so you're going to ask the host, please don't give me a bracha, because then I'm going to have to just continue through, and then I'm going to get into trouble. So if he does get called up, if they give him the bracha to make the bracha, he can't refuse it. He has to make one bracha only, because whatever bad thing could be from not finishing, there's nothing worse than to do something actively that's mekatzer yoma v'shnosav shalodom. Zok l'mo weiter, koshel bracha levorach v'einu mevorach, if they ask you to bench, and he said nowadays that could be not such a problem, because the whole reason why koshel bracha levorach is because you're not benching your host. But nowadays, even the individual benchers say the yiratzon for the balabai, so it could be that's not a problem. And manik atzmei b'rabbonos, so someone fears with rabbonos. And he brings down from Rav Belsky, somebody asked Rav Belsky, he says, have a sonis or rabbonos, so maybe it shouldn't be a Rav. Rav Belsky used to push people. I know Rav Belsky pushed Bergman to become a dayan, Sami Gel's son-in-law. So someone asked Rav Belsky, he does have a sonis or rabbonos, don't push me. So Rav Belsky says, no, it doesn't mean you should be sonis to be a Rav. You should be sonis the rabbonos. You should be sonis the statue, that you should push aside. But the actual work, that's good for you. That's good for you. I'm going to bench those who bench you. So by you benching the host, Hashem is going to bench you. Yosef should have lived longer than everybody else. You know why? Because we know he was protected from Ayin Hara. Yet he died earlier. Why? Well, because he physical therapy. And Rashi tells us he listened to his brothers say Avdecha Avinu several times, and that was the avla. Three things need special rachmanis from the Rebbeinu Shalom. A is Melech Tov, a good king, and it's the shayla if that means that we need rachmanis from the Rebbeinu Shalom to have a good king, or if the king always needs rachamim from Hashem. Shana Tov, to have a good year, the Chalom Tov, and a good dream. Melech Tov d'chsiv palge mayim leiv melech biyad Hashem. So you see, it's totally in Hashem. Shana Tov d'chsiv tamid einei Hashem alekecha mereishis Hashana einei Hashem alekecha ba mereishis Hashana bad achos Shana. Chalom Tov d'chsiv v'tachlimeni v'tacheni from my chalom, that's where I'm going to have chiyus. So you see those things need a special rachamim shemayim. Amar b'yechanan shloisha dvarim melachos aleim HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmai. There's 3 things that Hashem announces himself. He doesn't just have somebody else announce it for him. Ve'uhin, these are them. He tweeted. He bypasses the media and he tweets it out himself. Good gesagt. Rav, if there's going to be a famine, v'soiva, if there's going to be plenty, uparnish tov, and a good new leader. Rav d'chsiv ki kara Hashem la Rav. Hashem himself tweets it out. So if soiva d'chsiv v'karasi el hadogan for Beisi Yosei, so Hashem himself, and parnish tov d'chsiv. This is an interesting halacha. V'yem Hashem al Moshe Leimer re'ei karasi b'shem B'tzalel. The question is, was B'tzalel parnish? B'tzalel wasn't a leader. B'tzalel was in charge of the Beis HaMikdash. He was a contractor. So he brings down a leader. Every Talmud Chacham, B'tzalel was a murder Talmud Chacham to understand how to do it. A Talmud Chacham is also considered a parnis. I'm sorry?
He was also 13, right?
But he was a big Talmud Chacham. Yeah. You always have to ask the tzibur first, and he brings down from a Rebbe, I don't remember who it was from, that even if someone is yashning the Rabbanis or some position, be Yerusha, because his father was a Rav, it does require that the tzibur should willingly accept him. Moshe, Hagen, Elecha B'Tzalel, are you happy with B'Tzalel? Amaloi, he said, come on. Im Lefanecha Hagen, Lefanai Lakosh again? Amaloi, okay, Amapika and Lech Emer Lehem, I want you to get also buy-in from the nation. Halach Vam Elam Yisrael, Hagen, Alechem B'Tzalel, Amaloi, Im Lefanecha Baruch Hu, Lefanecha Hagen, if you think he's good and the Shem thinks he's good, Lefanei Lakosh again, surely we will accept him. I think we should stop, right? Because...
Rabbi Elazar was 18 and he was the monk and he was the Nossi, right?
Yeah, but B'Tzalel was 3.
Younger, he was like 13, right? So when did he have a chance to learn? He didn't even get to Kail yet.
We're going to learn tomorrow. It's very difficult. The Gemara makes a very big deal about B'Tzalel. That Moshe Rabbeinu told him first to build a kalim and then build it, and he said, "That doesn't make sense." That's the big oinus. Anybody could have figured that out.
What?
That's such a big onus that he asked, how can I make the kelim without a house? First I should make the house, and then I should make the kelim.
Right.
And that's the big deal about Basal. So I've been struggling with it. What's the big deal? Wouldn't you be able to figure that out? Anybody can figure that out. You don't buy the furniture, put it into storage.
If the Baron Shalom tells you a particular order, you should presume that's the order that you
Right, so
want.
Basal's question was, are you sure, Moshe, that you're telling me the order properly?
So Batzal was he had a nevuah, he had a natural, he understood exactly.
No, he was questioning Moshe's understanding. He was questioning Moshe's understanding of the nevuah.
Yeah.
And so he it's a very long. Wouldn't you question it too? Where am I going to put the kelim before I build the Beis Hamikdash? Before I build the Mishkan?
No. Moshe Rabbeinu, how do you come to question Moshe Rabbeinu? He got all the
So
information.
you're telling me?
right?
So you're telling me it's not his chachma. You're telling me it's his guts to question Moshe Rabbeinu?
No, it's his chachma.
Wait, why is that so much? Why is that so clever? Wouldn't anybody think
It's
of that?
not so clever. But he must have had some opposing nevuah or different clarity in his nevuah that Moshe didn't.